Howdy, I'm Derek, and in this video I'm going to show you 10 different ways you can leverage the sequence function in Excel. If you're not already familiar with it, sequence is one of the 60 or so different dynamic array functions, commonly called DAFs, in Excel. Why are these so special? Because they can spill across multiple cells instead of just supplying one value. They can spill down or across to the right or both. That's really powerful because it lets you automate and dynamically build all kinds of reports and schedules. Now, sequence is really useful by itself, but also when you combine it with other formulas, especially other DAFs. Now, it's going to have 4 different parameters in it. You can see those right here. You're going to have the number of rows, the number of columns, the starting point, and the step or interval value. Now, the Excel team was very thoughtful in putting together defaults. So a lot of times, like the one you're seeing right here, you're only going to see people supply the row. The other ones are just going to default as you might expect. Just one column, start at 0, increment by 1 are going to be those defaults. Now we're going to look at 10 different examples here. I'm going to start with my very favorite one. I'm constantly putting together to-do lists and lists in general of things, and I want to make that automatic as opposed to having to fill a formula and forgetting to update that or delete it or having reference issues if something gets moved around or deleted. So in this example, notice that it's surrounded in blue, the entire array part that's spilled. In the cell that you enter the formula in, you've got the formula and it's black, but in the ones where it's spilled to, it's gray, meaning that you can't edit anything, okay? Now, in this example, we just wanted to dynamically update the row, starting at 1, going to however long we have cell values to the side. So what I've done here for the row argument is used count A to say, hey, within this range, it's well big enough to account for any growth. How many of those have a value? That's all it's really doing. So it's finding number 6. Now, what's cool about this is when you add new values, like black and brown, notice it updates automatically for you. Now, if you clear one of those out or if you delete the rows altogether, it's going to update automatically. It's not going to break the formula, and it's going to reflect exactly what you want it to. That's the power of dynamic array functions and specifically sequence here. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a way that I love to do this super fast because I do this all the time, a few times a week or so. I actually wrote a macro to do this as fast as I can. So what it does, once I type in the name, or you could assign it to a keyboard shortcut, it says how many rows do you want to look for the adjacent cell. The idea is you're going to have something to the right of this that will always be there that you could use to count how many to display. 1500 is enough for me, so I've got that as the default that you can set, but you can set whatever default you want if you want more or less. Notice it inserts that entire formula for me. Now, that's not a whole lot to write. It's not that difficult, but it's something to use so much that every little keystroke that you save can make a big difference. Now, the second example, very, very simple, but we only want 1 row, and we want to have 10 columns. So notice it spills across the top instead of down across the rows. Pretty straightforward, right? What if we want to use that with dates? This is where it becomes really helpful. Let's say you want to have date ending values because you've got maybe a trend schedule with financial statements or something like that. We can wrap sequence as the value of number of months within the EO month formula or function. If you haven't used that one yet, it's really helpful for giving you the end of the month. And in this case, we just apply a starting value as an input. I like to put those inputs all in one place so that all my other sheets have just formulas in them. That way we know that it's not out of date or something. So we've connected it over here, and let's say we change this value over here to a 4. Notice everything updates automatically. And if we were to delete a cell or something like that, or maybe insert one, it's going to automatically continue to spill where you want it to. So it just makes it so much easier when you have structural changes to build all the things you can into one dynamic formula. If we didn't want to have the specific date, maybe we wanted to have the displayable month abbreviation, or maybe you want the entire month, you can always change this code here at the end. What we're doing here is we're leveraging the text and date and year functions, and sequence is just going to supply the month value in this case. And we just want it to look a certain way. So using the number format code within the text function allows us to do that. If you haven't used text, it's pretty helpful as well. And knowing how to use number formats like that is a really helpful skill. We could also do this as a list of rows. Maybe we want to have anniversary dates, or maybe it's lease ending dates or something. Notice that we're combining sequence with date, year, month, and day, and the year is going to be sequence, but we're going to pull out the month and a day from another input. We could also do it that way as well. And then lastly, for dates, the next example here shows us a list of workdays. This is going to ignore any weekend or holiday days using Workday.international. Okay, so that allows you to supply what those weekend and on holidays are. So we're going to supply our starting date. Sequence is going to show us a number of days. What's our weekend argument? And in holidays over here is a list that I've provided. I'm going to pivot over to the end there, that last sheet. Right, so these are the holidays that my company respects. Those are used to build out this dynamic array that is spilling all the way down to row 251 for us. That's a really cool use of sequence if you're building out a list of days and you're trying to schedule things and you want to use that as a reference guide. Now, we've been counting forwards, but this next example, you can count backwards. So how many rows? 10, columns 1, starting at -1, a -1 step value. And notice it goes to -10. Pretty simple, right? But you can go forwards or backwards. You could count backwards by 5s. That might be really helpful for a teacher who's grading some papers and there's 20 questions. So you can count backwards, doesn't have to be by 1s. This next example combines a couple of things. One, we're going to supply 10 rows and 5 columns, so we have a 2-dimensional array here. We're starting at 0 and we're using a decimal as our step. So notice that 0.5 here is our step. It's going to show 0, then 0.5, then 1, and go across the top and then wrap around to the next row, all the way to 24.5 because we want to have 50 cells, 10 rows, 5 columns. Okay, and then this last one, did you know that Excel has a Roman numeral function called Roman built in? It's pretty cool, and if you use sequence in the middle and you give it more than one value, it's going to build a dynamic array of Roman numerals. So now you can practice those and know exactly what Super Bowl number is and what the next one's going to be to impress your friends. Sequence is helping you do it. So there you have it. 10 different examples, really helpful and common use cases for sequence. And if nothing else, maybe they're helping you think of other examples you might want to use them for. Okay. Use it by itself or along with other functions to automate a lot of the calculations when you need a sequence of numbers or similar values. Now, if you build formulas like this a lot, now you saw in the first example, I have a macro that I use for that because it's something I do so much. But if you build a lot of formulas and you want to reuse those, it's a great efficiency time play, by the way. There's a couple of things I've built where you can take a formula that you've used before, save it, because then it can be referenced, whether it's in that file or any other file later on. And notice that we have a whole bunch of values here from other files that I've saved, and I can instantly insert that into the file that I'm working in, even shift the references because they might be a little different than where I had that formula originally saved from. Okay, so that's really helpful. And then another one that I've used more recently, because Lambda, be able to create your custom function to simplify things and just make it easier, whole lot of benefits from doing this. You can save your favorites here. Okay, so I've got a couple in here that I've used before. Beginning of month is one I've used before, and then unpivot is one that I'll be actually sharing here in a week or so. This lets you save your Lambda functions that you've created and use them again and add them to your workbook. So that's one of the big benefits, is being able to do that without having to use VBA and macros. But with this, it can always be available. So if you like that, be sure to check out the Accelerate Excel add-in and the link in the comments below. Hundreds of tools that you can use to save a couple hundred hours or more within your work each year. If you like the examples used in this video, make sure to download the accompanying workbook that you've been seeing me go through here with a link in the comments below as well. And if you've used any the sequence function in any creative ways, let us know. Share the use case you've got so that the rest of us can maybe benefit as well. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, add some feedback, share it with a friend. And of course, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day.